Не функционирует, что ли? Ну, все нормально. Ну ладно. Просто так. Думiterka. Tulips.
Is your primary concern at all times, even over the lives of your own people. This all coalesces into a game about making tough choices under tough circumstances, and not so much creative expression or true-to-life simulation. Playing the ultra-relaxed Serenity mode, added by popular demand, really proves this point. Without the back-breaking pressure of the cold, resource shortages, and almost certain doom, the game is kind of boring, and simply doesn't support other kinds of fun. Compare that to something like RimWorld, or the infinitely less viewer-friendly Dwarf Fortress. These two games hand you a set of systems and tools, but let you use them to tell your own story. And the name of that story? Dog Punchers. There are some other ones you could tell as well, of course. Want to customize a thriving village of happy people to your heart's content? Go nuts. Want to make a starving cannibal tribe constantly on the brink of extinction? That's fine too. I've never even started RimWorld's main quest of building a spaceship and going home, because the game isn't really interested in trying to tell you how to play. The systems and mechanics are there to generate interesting complications, but you're very much the storyteller. Conversely, minimalist design tends to zoom in on a very specific frame of mind or emotional state that resonates with every part of the game. The classic example of this sort of approach is in Fumeto Ueda's Design by Subtraction, found in classics like Ico or Shadow of the Colossus, but it's found in much more mainstream titles as well. The Resident Evil games are great examples of how to use very elegant, streamlined design to create tension and fear. Your basic zombie in Resident Evil 2, by far the most common enemy type, has no special mechanics or AI. Basically all they do is shamble slowly towards you, and yet the game manages to make this feel absolutely terrifying. Zombies have boatloads of health and just will not stay dead unless you pour a whole clip of ammo into their head. Knocking them down for a little bit is much easier, but it means they'll be back next time you visit, ready to lurch towards you all over again. All this means you've got to play it smart and simply run away from most encounters, or try to stun zombies with a headshot if you really have to. You feel powerless against a horde of inevitable enemies designed to slowly yet relentlessly whittle you and your resources down. Thanks to the deliberately bare bones and clunky combat mechanics, even successfully taking down a zombo feels more like you barely got away with your life than an empowering moment of triumph, specifically because you didn't have the wiggle room and freedom afforded to you by more complex, flexible systems found in a less minimalist game. Even saving in hardcore mode, which is the default in the original games, involves mucking around with painfully limited inventory space and resources, ramping up the tension even more when an hour of progress is on the line. Doom 2016 is nowhere near as minimalist, but it does take similar steps. In order for you to really immerse yourself in Doomguy's angry frame of mind, there need to be absolutely no distractions. As such, the entire game is presented from Doomguy's first-person perspective, and the player is excellently introduced to the way the game expects them to feel by the way Doomguy actively ignores the law and is mean to computers. There's even some lovely little UI touches like the impact compensation pop-up that appears when you land, or the way you get suit upgrade points by pulling chips out of the chests of dead soldiers, that all help to sell the reality of the game and make you feel like you're looking out of the visor of a suit, rather than a gamey UI. Doom Eternal, on the other hand, wears its status as a video game loud and proud, and is much more concerned with function over form. The UI is much more colourful, showing brightly coloured gameplay information like ammo types, armour, and distinct enemy coloration first and foremost, because the game is putting you and your decisions in control. The glory kill too is much more vibrant here, because it's now a tactical choice to put yourself in harm's way to get some health, instead of a moment of catharsis. well, it's still sort of that. Yeah. Doom Eternal even breaks its sibling's cardinal rule of first-person perspective, because in this game, you're not supposed to think of yourself as Doom Guy. You're a person playing a video game. This is the reason why the game includes bizarre geometry-bending platforming segments. Without the pressure of needing to keep the player fully immersed in a doom-slaying berserker mode 24/7, the game is able to separate combat encounters into isolated chunks, each with their own distinct challenges and themes, which helps to keep things fresh. Doom Eternal's priority is in giving the player information and options. To this effect, it even lets them change the difficulty on the fly or activate cheats, because it's not telling you how to have fun. If you want to chill out bashing pushover demons or to put your tactical skills to the test, Doom Eternal is right there with you. As a rule of thumb, what maximalist games lack in a consistent tone, they make up for in flexibility. But it's not all good. These two opposite styles do still have their weaknesses. Doom 2016's strict focus on its one particular state of mind means that the elements of the game that don't involve tearing pull you right out of the experience. The secret hunting in particular is really guilty of this. Backtracking through levels, not fighting any demons, and with no outside pressure, means that the wave of adrenaline you've been riding for the last 30 minutes basically just disappears. However, secret hunting also gives you precious armor and weapon upgrades, so you feel compelled to do it, even if that means sacrificing what makes the game fun. Secret hunting actually works way better in Eternal, where the broader focus and greater variety of platforming abilities makes it a nice change of pace, rather than something boring. Doom 2016 also suffers from being a bit too long. As fantastic as the core loop is, it caps out in complexity and mechanical nuance about 2/3 of the way in. And though the gameplay is just as fun and frantic the whole way through, it slowly becomes more and more routine. Minimalist games, true to their name, often tend to be shorter for this exact reason. Games like Portal fully explore their one idea and then cap things off before you have a chance to get bored. Doom 2016, on the other hand, turns furious demon extermination into a bit of a chore, souring the latter portions of the game. Eternal has, as you might expect, the opposite problem. The more ideas and mechanics a game is juggling at any one time, the larger chance it has that two of them won't mix very well. We can see this in the case of the very limited ammo system and the chainsaw. Doom Eternal limiting the max ammo of guns works in theory, as it forces players to make interesting choices as to which gun they want to use, rather than just using the super shotty for everything. But that means they need to use the chainsaw, which rips enemies up into a bunch of ammo much more often. This is a problem, because it turns what was once a brilliant fuck you one-hit kill button into something that gets used exclusively on lame fodder enemies to farm ammo, instead of as something fun. Another example of this happening was in Fire Emblem Awakening, which introduced a cool team-up mechanic as well as an increased focus on relationship building between characters, by giving ones who were friends extra stats when they were close by each other. Two benign systems that combined to create unkillable dull acts of husbands and wives who completely ruin the game's tactical balance. Additionally, the game runs into the problem of including so many new elements that some are guaranteed to rub players the wrong way. The deadly Marauder mini-boss who requires some very fancy footwork to even damage, let alone kill, and the platforming bits I mentioned earlier are such wild departures from the Doom formula that their mere inclusion have pissed some fans off, which, regardless of the game's artistic ambitions, is never a good thing. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are both great games, but neither of them are perfect. Doom Eternal is a bit of a mess on a variety of levels, and it's got so much going on between the bonkers story, billions of collectibles, and weird new enemy designs that it's hard to work out how you're supposed to get the most out of the game. On the flip side, Doom 2016 is a tightly crafted thematic package that sort of outstays its welcome, and as such, a lot of its biggest fans have never actually finished it. But the real lesson I think we can draw from these two games by comparing their disparate styles is that just as games can be designed to be minimalist or maximalist, they can be played in those ways too. By learning what goes into designing each kind of game, and how the developers expect us to play our part, we can approach games with the right mindset, and as such get much more out of them. I imagine there are a lot of people who played Breath like a traditional Zelda game, following the critical part of the main dungeons and the final boss, which are the worst bits of the game. The real value is in all the extra weird side stuff and optional content. Similarly, a lot of people have complained about minimalist games like, say, Mirror's Edge feeling shallow, when in reality, great minimalist games don't have much going on because they're intended to be precise and only engage with one or two fundamental gameplay ideas. The Mirror's Edge sequel was rubbish precisely because it tried to address this concern by polluting the purity of the original game. The Doom series is a foundational part of video game lore, And just as the medium continues to grow and become more sophisticated, so must Doom. These two experiments into different kinds of design aren't perfect, and they certainly aren't for everyone, but they're enduring proof that even the most venerable and beloved gaming icons can still be reimagined and iterated upon, and by doing so, we can transform old ideas into interesting new forms. So, whether you prefer Doom 2016, or Doom Eternal, or even the originals, it's important to know that at the end of the day, the one that you prefer is objectively correct and empirically the best Doom game. You and me? We're the ones with taste. We like the good Doom game. The one where they got it right. All those other idiots? Forget about them. Hi.
Sberbank Amerika. Это якорь не есть. Ну нет, у себя он так говорит.